Ancient China was full of many things in its history. One of those things is the Silk Road. For this video, I made a few changes. When I look over things like silk scrolls, it's going to say map, but it's a silk scroll. Silk is string, bronze is brick, fur is leather, perfume is potions, bronze swords are gold swords. Part 1, battle uses. Part 2, trading. Part 3, along the road. Battle uses. Ancient China's military also used the Silk Road for invading neighboring countries that were their enemies, or sometimes their neighboring countries that were their enemies would come to them. Soldiers, the same as traders, had to take the hardships of the desert, just like the extreme heat and all the deadly animals. Like these, the enemies of China were fought by the soldiers on the Silk Road sometimes. The soldiers also sometimes were told to accompany groups of traders on their trips through the Silk Road. When soldiers accompanied traders, they were there to protect the traders from bandits, like these groups of bandits. They had to fend off all the bandits so that the traders could get to Europe and successfully trade with all the Europeans that the Chinese government wanted some of their supplies. During the time of the Silk Road, traders, specifically during the Han Dynasty, started using two-humped camels to help them carry their supplies. And in this video, I had to use pigs instead of camels. As traders traveled through the desert, sometimes the camels, and most of the times, they were slow. So it took a while for the traders to get to their destination. But on the road, traders met many different people that they traded with. Even on the Silk Road, traders would find other traders from Europe that they could. But not only were there traders, there were bandits, and a lot of the times bandits would kill and steal all the traders' things. And as the traders kept going, sometimes some traders set up so they only went a certain distance and then stopped and traded with someone else who would then take it the rest of the way. It was very long, the desert was very long and it was very harsh to the traders. As they went on, it got harder and harder for the first traders to get used to the desert. So most of the traders died. But later on, traders found resourceful oases that provided them with plenty of supplies. The road had many difficulties and several other good things. As the road continued on, the terrain was the same but highly dangerous, so it was hard for traders and soldiers to move along. This same problem also applied with the Romans. When the Romans heard of the silk from a place called the Silk Country, the emperor wanted more silk. So he sent soldiers along the Silk Road to go to China to get more silk. But the majority of the soldiers died, and some of them that returned said that they heard nothing about the Silk Country. Also along the road there are good things too. Marvelous sights as oases. Oases are random spots in the desert that have some trees and some water. Traders usually stopped at oases, and at some of the oases along the Silk Road, where traders usually stopped, some cities and towns were formed. At some of the smaller oases, some towns were built that it was more comfortable for traders to visit. Like this town, they were quite small, but still resourceful, so traders could sleep and get ready for the next day when they went off. Small businesses flourished on the Silk Road in many of these small towns because they were able to sell plenty of items to traders who were hungry and to their camels that were very thirsty. The Silk Road was long and harsh, but in the end the rewards were great because many of the traders got items that they could never get back in their home countries. But at the end of the journey, they always saw large cities with giant buildings, ruling emperors, and sights that would be seen by almost no people in their own country. As the Silk Road grew older, it sufficed for about 1,000 years until the Han Dynasty was overthrown, and then it was no longer well treated, and traders weren't protected by soldiers anymore. But still, the Silk Road established links from Europe to China, creating one of the first trade routes to ever be built. This led for future inventions of trading by sea with the Chinese junk ships, which was another reason why the Silk Road was not used again.